All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Anohana, episode 8.
All right, yeah, this is getting into the final quarter.
Yep, we're getting closer and closer to the end. Oh boy.
We've been having also a lot more stuff that's been kind of held back from us in some interesting ways because I can tell we're headed towards kind of the big kind of stuff that should happen in near the finale.
Right, this is kind of the Act 3 sort of situation that we're moving into.
Right, the setup has been kind of done there with primarily Menma's family, and then with what's going on with Yukiatsu remembering with Tsuruko what Menma called them all there for, which we still don't have yet, which is kind of surprising. We know now why they're not sharing it with anyone, because particularly
Menma
even the
asked
audience.
them not to.
Yeah, Menma said, don't tell Jinta specifically.
Right.
This is not a don't tell the rest of the group. This is the main character. This is the guy that she might have liked, might not have, but did like
and
her.
is showing up to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So her wish might
probably
be completely wrapped up in what Yukiatsu just found out.
Yep,
Which
probably.
also means that in some ways, what Yukiatsu does next with the group is extremely important regarding that. But since he hasn't done anything yet.
Yeah, he did those little deflections of like, are you sure the rocket's, the wish? Like, are you sure you want to do? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he's not forcing it.
Right.
Which is interesting. The other thing that really was a big deal was that Jinta ended up getting part-time jobs with both Anaru and Popo.
Yep.
And what's awesome about that is we then get to see, main character interacting with these two, and we get some unique interactions there, primarily more with Anaru than Popo.
Yeah.
But seeing Menma reacting to that was always good.
Seeing Jinta work for something and start to be building something, right? Not just sort of sitting around at home. That's the whole reason why his friends and Menma were like, hey, why don't you go to school?
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, this is, maybe even a step better. Like, so.
It really could be, yeah. So, y'all, without further ado, let's get into this.
Yeah.
Has to know. Yeah, Jinta knows exactly how this is gonna go. Well, not necessarily with the mom, but he knows how this is gonna go with Menma. So, the fact that Menma pleaded with him to be like, please don't make my mom have to like go through this all again. Like that's just gut wrencher. That's interesting. The two first scenes we have with Menma in the group, it's basically Menma being the one in the background observing, as well as being also in the background observing as a ghost, kind of remembering.
Oh, sure.
So it's almost like her wish isn't necessarily something so specific. It probably is going to be on some level specific, but it's just her seeing the whole group together.
Right.
And enjoying that. Yeah. Even while being in the group, in her memory. That was one of the things she loved about it then as well.
Yeah, always, like, sort of being observant of things, which
like
in a lot
taking
of ways,
it all in.
Right.
Like, she was hyper aware of how, like how wonderful it was that all this was happening.
Right. Sort of the emotional states of the characters.
Yeah.
Which then fits in nicely with her coming back as a ghost.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Cutting him off. Nice. Nothing to do with Menma. That nickname. Oh. Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
結局自分たちが楽しんでるのよね。メイクを出しにして。おばさん。
Oh, here it is.
何にも変わらずに日だってあなたたち。
Here we go.
メイクと遊んでたんでしょ。
Here we go.
Yep.
あの子の日記読んだんでしょ。どうしてあなたたちはこうして大きくなって。どうしてメイクだけが。
Oh my god. The voice acting. Oh.
何してんの？ずっと私たち憎まれてたのかしら。
I mean, it's complicated.
Yep.
But yeah.
誰かに嫌われたのって。
いい加減やめよう。
待てよ。そしたら
Okay.
メンマはどうなって
そろそろ気づけよ。
Okay.
人のことは言えない。でもな、お前みたいに自分の傷を他人にも押し付けようなんてことはしない。
自分の傷を。
みんな傷つく。
あれってきっと自分のことを言ってたんだよね。傷ついた人って。
I mean,
ユキヤツ。
Everyone is.
yeah, everyone, but he has information you don't.
そんなに変わってなくてびっくりした。だけどさ、どんなに変わってなくたってもう
Yep. Yep. It can't go back exactly the way things were. So why are we still the same in that regard?
俺だけで叶えたって。
No, that's not true though.
Yeah.
That's not true at all.
俺も続けるからよ。今まで通り。だから。
I feel like we're like one bad encounter away from people saying things that they regret to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like Yukiyatsu was actually being like, he was kind of holding back a little bit, like with specificity. Oh, that was tense.
Mm-hmm.
なんか顔色悪いよ。
Not sleeping as much. Called it.
睡眠貯金たんまりあんだよ。
Oh, come on, buddy. No, take care of yourself too.
そんなにメンマのこと。
Oh, did you see that? He might fall. Yep, I was literally like worried. Like, yep.
ジンタン。もう
Talk.
やめようよこういうの。
Yeah. Yeah.
本当は言ってほしくなかった。
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
私
This and that.
今からすっごく。
Oh my god. Oh.
私ほっとしちゃった。
Yep. Yeah.
ちょっと嬉しかったんだ。
Yeah, we know. It's okay.
あんな風に言っちゃったらメンマが大好きだって言ってるようなもんじゃない。嬉しくなっちゃった自分が許せなくてメンマを傷つけてあんなことになっちゃってジンタンを好きだった自分が許せなくっておかしいよジンタン。
Oh.
もしさ本当にジンタンのとこメンマいるんだったらさ好きなのに。
Oh. Oh. Oh boy. All right.
願いが叶ったらメンマは。
ごめんもうちょっとね。そんなに痛かった？
No.
いや、フランダーズの犬。なんだそりゃ。嘘下手くそすぎんだろ。でも。
メロにいっぱい優しくしてもらったでしょ。
God.
メンマちゃん。
These kids need therapy, y'all. Oh.
みんな罪悪感の中で救われずに。
Mm-hmm.
俺にはメンマが見える。
おはよう。
Complexion around his eyes from when he was crying a bunch,
Yep.
you know.
こんな時間今日バイト。いや学校が。
学校行く。今日トウコさんの。
The dad's like, oh,
俺だけの
yeah.
メンマが見えるなら。
Are these two gonna finally have a little heart to heart?
俺が学校行かなくたって
Oh.
親父は何一つ文句言わなかった。
Oh, man. Here it comes. I didn't feel it. Here we go.
親ってさ。
Yeah.
ごめん。
何が？ああ、バイトのことなら気にしないで。
知ってたのか。
Oh.
Pretended not to know.
知らないよ、何にも。だって、
え？
あの、その。
知ってたのか。
だって、バイトのことなら気にしないで。
知ってたのか。
知らないよ、何にも。だって、
知ってたのか。
バイトのことなら気にしないで。
知ってたのか。
Oh.
ジンタが何謝ろうとしたかわからなかったもん。
Yeah, he doesn't even press it. He's just like, okay, well then, can you give me
Yep.
this? Yeah.
かなわねえよな。
ジンタンおはようも言わないで行っちゃうなんて。
ジンタン一人でやらせるわけにいかねえだろ。
Oh.
せっかくよ、超平和バスターズが元通りになったと思ったのに。
Oh.
仲悪くなっちゃったの？
Okay. Who are you going to see, Menma?
ナンバーディスプレイの番号。1だっ
Oh.
向こ
Oh, it was
た。
Menma.
砂嵐みたいな音がして。
Oh. He's gonna get one too. Oh my god.
黙って休むとかさ。
あ、いらっしゃいます。
Oh god. Oh.
Yep.
Oh, these two talking. Okay.
突然押しかけたこっちの方で。
うちの親異常なんすよ。
Oh.
あのおばさんほとんど家出ないし、
That woman.
なんか
Wow.
人に会いたくないみたいで、ああいうのが母親って
Oh.
恥ずかしいっていうか。
ほんと何考えてんだろうな。
Forgot about this.
まだ一人残ってるのにな。
Oh. Oh
俺
boy.
まだすげえチビで、ほとんど姉ちゃんのこと覚えてないけど。
俺も行く。
Oh.
サー君はダメ。超平和バスターズなの。
なんて言われても、あんなしみったれた家。
Yeah, but I hate that house. Yeah.
あのさ、安城。お、ジンタンも来たんか。
Everyone. Cool.
うかけてたんじゃないのか、俺たちのところに。
電話
5時頃かかってきたの。
でも、その時間は俺も親父もいないし。
I have proof.
メンマ。
なんなんだよ、俺にも見せろよ。いるんだろメンマ。だったら俺にも見せてみろよ。
やめろよ、雪やつ。
Oh my god, they all felt that.
お前また。
こんな時までメンマの幽霊ごっこ。
違う。お前が謝るんだ。
ヤドミ
いるんか、ジンタン。メンマそこに。
あんたもやめなポッポ。ジンタン、ちょっとタンマね。
頼むからもうやめてくれ。一生消えない。メンマが謝ってるなんて嘘だ。
日記。
なんで。
Oh. Okay, here we go. Here we go. ZD is so good too.
Forgot how much this episode hurts.
All right, this is a really good episode, really emotional.
Yep.
Jinta focus basically the entire way through, which is kind of nice that they're basically saying, all right, we're honing in now on the, focus main character here so that we can really kind of set up what's going to be the emotional climax of, Menma's whole reason for being here.
Yep.
And, yeah, we kind of went on a little bit of a journey of a couple days of his life. So
We did.
We started off with going to see Menma's mom.
Yeah.
And the voice acting on the mom when she was cutting them off at like very key points and stuff.
Yep.
And then when she started to squeeze Sudoko's wrist and started to get angry and a little bit like frantic. Like, oh my god,
Right, because
that was her. Oh.
It's one of those things where it's the stupidity of youth, where You know, they're earnestly trying to help resolve this issue, right? And yet they are not at all thinking about the consequences of their actions from the standpoint of exactly what the hurt would be and what the feelings would be surrounding them even just visiting the house for the mom.
Yeah, it makes sense very much within the context of their characters, because one of the things that has been shown to be the common flaw amidst all of them is that they are unaware of their own actions' effects on the emotional states of the people in their own group.
Right.
So how much more so would they be unaware
For
of the
someone
effects?
that they weren't friends with.
Someone that they are not that close to, really.
Yep,
you know,
exactly.
in Menma's mom.
Uh-huh.
So the way that they basically like are actually like trying to drive things in a way that is like contradictory to what she's bringing up, it even in that respect is showing that they're not even aware until they literally see her shedding tears.
How much she was like trying to
stop, please stop. Like,
keeping them at arm's length and basically saying, hey, let's not mention her.
Yeah, exactly.
Could we not? The fact that you all are here is enough. But no.
Yeah. Yeah. That you read her diary, didn't you? Time has frozen for her.
Right.
She's the only one who hasn't changed yet. Why do you all keep growing? Like, holy shit, that's
why do you all keep
scary.
growing? Like, because this is her daughter, right? Her baby. You know, she nursed her, she raised her, she you know, I'm sure made all kinds of sacrifices in order to help her grow.
Of course, yeah.
Right?
A parent should never have to, bury
No.
their child. Yeah,
never.
No, never.
But she did. You know, maybe she wouldn't have literally been the one, burying.
No, of course not.
Right, but that happened.
That
happened.
Yeah.
And even though it's easy to think when you're young that adults have everything figured out, they don't. We don't.
Nope.
Like, and she's still dealing with this just in the same way as them.
Right. Even though the fact that she was probably at the very least willing to go through some therapy or something, in that regard, maybe she hasn't, but the fact that she's in this state right here is just showing how unprepared people are for this kind of thing to happen.
Right.
And that you have to be very, very gracious with people when they're in this state, and thus Menma's pleading with Jinta of like, please don't go back to my mom and try to force this into being something that she has to deal with, because we don't know how long Menma has been,
how long she's been dead?
No, how long she's been a ghost, really, in that regard. There's a very real possibility that when she went to visit her family and stuff in that regard, that she could have been doing that for a while. I'm just saying that the idea that Menma being aware enough, despite being, still her child self, she didn't grow up, in that regard.
Yeah, or at the very least, she hasn't had that.
She hasn't had that
experience
time.
living, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
Yeah, she's aware of just how much that would hurt her, which I don't want to go down the Menma was dying again route, but there is a possibility that the mom was already sad on some level for Menma, and thus she did have some life experience, seeing her mom in a negative emotional state. Yeah. But I don't want to go down that theory.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll just tell you, it's not going to do something like that. With only a couple episodes left of she actually,
I really don't want it to be that. So I'm more just saying that just in case.
Right.
Next thing we need to bring up is the idea that then the group has a little bit of a talk afterwards regarding that, and we see that Yukiatsu is the one to almost immediately take charge and go, let's stop this. This is it. This is done. Because not only was this something where he saw, hey, we hurt their, the mom there. We bumped into something that we shouldn't have. This is something where it's now starting to affect him in a lot of ways as well, where he was already having like a lot of growth and moving on from this based on the stuff that happened earlier on in the show. Yep. So this is in some ways bringing it all back up for him, and he's like, I don't want to do that. So maybe with Yukiatsu, he deviated course enough from where he was going in the past, that he was able to sequester the feelings regarding this, because he's like, look, I'm so much more free now. I'm so much more confident in this. I have now separated in my head a bit of the feelings regarding that.
My perspective on it is that it's something where the freedom came when he finally faced those feelings. But he realizes how scary those feelings can be. And that you don't want to force someone to face those feelings if they are not ready for it, if they don't want to, etc.
I never tried to force my own pain onto others.
Right.
So, but that's him saying that the Menma thing is that.
Right.
But that's not what happened here. That's the Menma thing for this was not it was the diary and trying to fulfill the wish, but it had nothing to do directly, I would say, with Jinta bringing this up.
Right.
Here.
If anything, one of the reasons why I think it might be Yukiatsu that said, hey, let's stop this, in addition to just the fact that from earlier he would be more inclined to do that, is that he is pretty sure the rocket isn't Menma's wish.
Well, right.
You know.
Well, right. Well,
so it's the.
But this wasn't related to. Was it related to the rocket?
Yeah. It was. They were going to go. They were going to talk to them to see if there was any way they could convince them that they did need to do the whole thing with the rocket.
Oh, okay. Never mind. You're right. Yeah. So then, in this case, Yukiatsu and Tsuruko split up with them, and then they have their little, post bit with it, and
Jinta's like,
all of us is no longer a thing. So
right, which is a great point. That's a good thing to bring up. Yep. Menma is gone.
Menma is
right?
gone. Yeah.
And that's part of the whole thing. Even though I think that was brought up later. Yeah, it was brought up later by Inaru. But if you do grant her wish,
she'll disappear.
She'll disappear, right?
Yeah.
So
what are you doing then, Jinta? Because I think what this is now he's found a new routine that's giving him a reason to keep going, so he doesn't want to let go of it. So he ends up working himself into the ground.
I'll do it alone.
I don't need any of you.
Right. In a lot of ways, it's more of just cloistering off and
it's just a new version of it.
Not facing the feelings, right, but doing it in something where it's easier to look at it and say there isn't a problem here because I'm doing the socially acceptable ways of of occupying my time and my attention.
And it is something that points him towards, in some ways, a little bit of a source of maybe comfort in that Menma is something that he is actually seeing.
Right.
Therefore,
that's the reason he's working. And
it's basically something that reinforces that aspect. And it won't... it doesn't lead him towards some kind of denial area, other than maybe the denial of his own physical health and well-being.
Exactly.
And stuff. Then we get one of I knew this kind of thing had to happen eventually, but I thought it was going to be more about the barbs of the words thrown by people who are realizing that everyone went into survival mode after Menma died, and no one looked out for each other. Basically, the Super Peace Busters were not really that tightly woven together because of what happened after Menma died. But instead, we get even a more painful, pointed moment where Inaru basically says, "What's wrong with you?" Like, well, not even just that. She gets to that eventually, but it's more of like, I didn't like have any real empathy for this whole moment back then. I hate myself for it because when you said you didn't like Menma, I was happy. I almost thought she was going to bring up the thing of where she was like, when Menma died, I was actually a little happy. And I'll bet you that's the unspoken part of this as well, is that maybe that
but then at the same time, there's the whole thing of, you said you didn't like her, but then you ran away. Yep. That's basically saying you like her.
Love her. Yeah.
Right. And then, so...
Yep.
Yeah.
So, that was something we discussed about right when we saw the whole thing happen. We're like, well, now everyone knows.
Right. And so then there's the whole thing of, not only was there the guilt of, yes, you don't like her, oh, and that's a horrible thing to think. And then, oh, she dies right after.
Right.
Potentially as a result of him saying that because she died while running after him.
Yeah. So
but
now
also,
yeah.
you loved her. She died. I know what that did to you. So there's still that part of me that's like, oh, and that means I really don't have any chance, do I?
Nope.
Because you're going, like there's no room for me there. Right.
And
you
that's-
still love her
and-
even after all this time.
Exactly. And then that's paralleled in what's literally happening right now with Jinta, is that he's forcing himself to do all this stuff specifically because he's deadlocked in on Menma and only Menma.
In a lot of ways, it's like his own penance kind of a thing.
Yeah. If anything, the guilt connection made at the end was really a good
Yep.
visual for it as well, specifically for him. But God, the voice acting, just everything for this bit here. She's like, you're crazy. Don't you even realize what's going to happen here? She's practically like screaming in frustration and sadness and stuff.
Yep.
Like, do you even know what's happening? And then when she says, and wait, you're still going to leave after all this? It was basically like her thing of, if I say this, if I'm willing to be this vulnerable, at the very least, maybe he'll give me a hug, and at the very least apologize or something. No, he just walks away.
This is one of my favorite examples of the
Baka meme.
Yeah, because
oh, it's so painful.
because the emotional build up to it and everything is perfect, right?
Yeah.
And I love that it's the character archetypes in Anohana are fairly muted, right? You can still
sure.
kind of like put them into the character archetypes. Anaru is more of the tsundere, Yukiatsu is the ace, good student kind of a thing. Sudoku is sort of the colder character, Popo is Popo, the happy-go-lucky kind of character. But they don't lean into him too hard.
No.
So that when things like this happen, you know that it's happening because that is absolutely what Anaru would want to say, what makes sense for her to say. It's the deepest cry of her heart being laid bare in this moment.
Yeah.
But it's not just Jinta, you baka.
It's I am the Baka.
I'm the baka.
Yeah.
Right? And
oh, it's painful, yeah. Then gets there and sees Menma, and Menma is like, self-care, or
Right.
like, you should be taking care of yourself. And then she starts doing it, and then he just, in the moment, has like, oh, yeah, I just remembered a cute show from when I was a kid about a dog and
that's
stuff.
definitely what it is.
That's 100% what it is.
Not the fact that I'm thinking about the conversation with Anaru and I'm realizing, oh God, I'm going to have to lose you again. I've lost my mother, I've lost you, and now I'm third time's a charm.
Yep. And you know, it's really like, I think is really, really like, funny about this is I use actually kids movies that really strike at really nostalgic, emotionally like deep core aspects of who I am for the purpose of actually like self-therapy. When I'm like, I need a good cry, where the red fern grows, where the red fern grows, where the red fern grows. And I'll like literally like channel the feeling
To help bring up those
bring
feelings.
up all the emotion and stuff. And then it's just, I'm a puddled, wet mess on the ground, just crying my eyes out, and then just letting all the other stuff come out. Then I go and journal.
Right.
It's a full process and everything.
Yep.
So when he brought this up as a lie, I was like, oh, I've used that as an actual like as an actual thing, but then it's like, no, buddy, this isn't that moment for you. This is like one of those few times where you can be really vulnerable and know that anything that you tell her is really safe in that respect.
Yep.
And then she's trying to bring up like the hopeful aspect of it, like being like,
comfort him and everything.
yeah.
And
And then she realizes, wait, am I being like kind of like his mom to him in this instance here?
Yep. Yeah, remembering that she wasn't even the first person that he lost.
Yep.
And then she just holds him, and it's amazing.
It's precious, yeah.
Yep.
Then Jinta's thinking about how everything is moving in this direction.
Uh-huh.
And Why is it that Menma's only trying to save me right now? But wait, she's not. She's trying to save all of you, man. And yet she needed to go to the one person that probably would have the best result with this. And you were the one that
You were the leader.
You were the leader. You were the one that, she might have liked. We'll see. Probably. We'll see. But, you've got to instigate this, buddy.
There are so many things this episode where it's like, that's my favorite part from the episode.
Oh, yes.
But they're all
so many.
Like I can't pick one. And the fact that him and his dad have that moment where they go to his mom's grave.
Yeah.
And they're talking. And Jinta isn't even really saying much.
Nope.
But to go through one of my favorite quotes from anime, it's those no big deal things that matter the most, right? It's and his dad sees this, right? He's not an idiot. And Jinta starts to realize that he sees this. And by realizing that he has seen this and how he has responded to this, that's the best thing his dad could ever say, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's communicating it to him in a way that he'll understand when he's ready to receive it.
Right.
And also the bit where he takes off his hat and he's bald, right? Like, and it's like, oh, okay, he's bald. Maybe that doesn't mean anything, but maybe I can't remember if in his flashback, in like the flashbacks, if he had a full head of hair.
Oh,
But there's that part of me that's like, no, I wouldn't be surprised if that was because of all the stress and the pain and everything of losing his wife, and then his son loses his friend and completely shuts down, and he doesn't really feel like he can do anything.
I'll just say in general, he's probably not that old.
Probably not.
No. If anything, male pattern baldness is like something that happens to all men around the age of like 30 or so.
And different for others. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was just that was how his genes went,
Yeah, totally. But it is still a thing of like,
Yep.
Yeah. But I love the dad. I think he's played perfectly. I think the writing for him is the simplistic, perfect execution of what they're going for.
The tertiary character that really owns all of the times they're on screen.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's pretty good. Menma finds Popo. It's kind of convenient, but it's basically for the purpose of hearing these specific bits of dialogue. But then she gets the idea of, I'm going to cold call all of them. I'm going to see if I can do this.
Yep.
There are certain things that we now know because of the rules set up with her, is that she can interact with the physical world.
Right.
It is just something that requires...
It's limited.
Yes, there are certain aspects of it that I'm sure are more just for the sake of the plot. Like, she can't do things that other people would see, really.
Right, it's like when people aren't around to observe, she can do more stuff. She can eat no problem with Jinta, since no one else is there.
Yeah, she can lift up the phone and hit the receiver and then
dial in a number.
Dial in a number, right. And have them...
Because no one knows for a fact that that's her.
Exactly.
Yep.
But the journal part at the end, we're going to get to that. That part just, that kills me, because there's a couple things... There's a couple things that I want to bring up with that. But... Tsuruko, Yukiatsu, and them getting the experience of that, and it being like just their heart stops from that. Right. So we know what's coming. It's going to happen to all of them.
Yep.
Then we get probably one of the biggest surprises of this episode.
The thing that it's like, I didn't know that I wanted until it happened.
Yeah.
And I even forgot that this conversation was a thing. Yeah. Because... but
when Menma's brother and Yadami or Jinta have their little talk after his work shift.
Yep.
Which is it's so good, because how do I say this? Jacob and I have a pretty cool dynamic with our siblings, just in general.
Yeah.
Just in general. But we know what it's like to lose siblings in a unique way. We've never had a sibling die, necessarily.
But
we had family members that weren't of our our blood, basically, in that regard. But we had times where we had to say goodbye, and it really screwed up our family in general.
Yeah. And it wasn't just once. It was
No.
multiple times with multiple different people.
Yeah.
And that's...
And there's so many feelings associated with it.
And it's something that, like in that particular instance for us, it was something where I didn't realize when it happened just how much it messed me up.
Yep.
You know?
It takes a bit of time.
Because
you can survive a lot. And really I think it's the sequester thing I kind of theorized with Yukiatsu that might not have applied there, but I think it does apply here, is that you can kind of go, well, I was little, I don't really remember that much of it.
Yep.
But because of the ripple effect that it had on his parents, and now that he's kind of experiencing it, and just saying something like they still have a son.
That line. Because that's okay. This is the thing that I really hate about suffering and pain.
Oh.
Is not the pain itself. Because the pain can be awful. It can be as awful as you can imagine, right? But eventually you survive, right? That's like how it has to happen. I know there's some physical instances
life
where
will go on,
but
you
evolve,
basically.
Life will go on, you will evolve, and that's part of the beautiful, amazing, painful journey of living, right?
Yeah.
But this is the kind of thing that really... that pain still has that kind of effect where then all you can think about is the pain, right?
Sure.
And it blinds you to so much else, to so many wonderful things all around you that you can't see because you're in pain, right? It's the Yukiatsu and Tsuruko thing, right?
Yep.
They're together.
Exactly.
They're together all the time so much it's Yukiatsuruko, you know,
Yep.
right? They have a ship name and it's just a casually just acknowledged thing.
Yep.
And yet in a lot of ways they're so alone.
Yep.
Specifically with regards to each other. And then here, you've got Menma's brother. And he's like, I didn't even really know her all that well, right? But, you know...
He has like a couple really sweet memories.
Really sweet memories. But, you know, he says, I didn't even really know her all that well. But then it goes back and you see one of the memories where it was, oh yeah, but he was old enough to really care about her, right? And for her to have a big impact on him.
Yep.
But then he's like, that woman. I'm embarrassed to know that she's my mom.
Yeah.
Because she lost a daughter. She lost a child. But she still has one more. Like, what?
Like, this kid is probably about 12, maybe?
Yeah, maybe 13 or 14 at the oldest. But
I don't think so. It seems like he was pretty young when Menma was going and hanging out with him and stuff. I would say he was about 4 years younger than Menma, my guess. Because he was able to speak and stuff like that. But
regardless, way too young to need to deal with this. Yeah. And this is something that he's been dealing with since she died.
Right.
Since he was incredibly young, even if he didn't fully understand it. And because of how his family clearly doesn't seem to handle this very well, with the mom not being able to move on from the past and the dad feeling like, I'm guessing, he has to sort of show the mom that it's okay to move on, that, you know, you need to move on, sort of a thing, right? It's clearly not something that's probably talked about a lot because of how rough and sensitive a topic it is.
Yeah.
And so here he is growing up, like the majority of his life, with this thing hanging over his head.
Yep.
And he just has to deal with it as best he can.
Yep. Alone.
Yep.
So going to see Jinta in this way, which totally wasn't an accident.
Like it could have been, but
it might have been.
But either way, it was something where he would have wanted to have this conversation, even if the opportunity was like coincidental. You know?
Yeah, I want to go out on a limb and say that the fact that they bumped into each other here might have been coincidental, but
it doesn't change anything though. Like. Because you know this was something that like he needed to say to someone.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't change anything. I had a weird theory about how it was actually really intentional, but I guess his facial expression enough was that surprise that fine there. But the way in which he was like wanting to go and hang out with the group and stuff, and this this ended up being a thing where she gave him a really sweet memory because he's then like, oh, I'm gonna protect the house, but he's like, that dreary house.
Yeah.
I don't want to protect it anymore, basically.
Like, as far as ways to quickly characterize someone and give them a very strong emotional conflict.
Yep.
How do you deal with that?
Yep.
Like, because he's all thinking, like, who knows? Maybe that time was literally the last time he saw her.
Who knows?
Maybe that was when she was going, off the trip or going to the fort, and then that was it. She never came back. It could have been, right? And then it's and what he remembers is protect this house. Mm-hmm. Well, I've done a great job of that, haven't I? Like, and as a burden to put on, however old he was at the time, like. Not that was intentional in any way, but that's just.
It's the unfortunate coincidence of the fact that she ended up passing away.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So then the calls, and they all are like, "Hey, what the hell?" What I love about this is you notice how they're all upset with him because they're like, "Okay, this is too far."
Yeah. Like, now, don't mess with us like this.
Yeah. Exactly. What's wonderful, I would say, also about this is that the one person who I don't think we know 100%, but we assume Popo did get a quiet call because they said all of us did get one. Popo is silent this whole time. Popo is the one that always supports Jinta. Here, he's not saying anything until Yukiatsu nearly starts choking him out. Right. Which is basically the, okay, but we don't need to, you don't need to hurt him for this or something like that.
He was the one that's like, I believe that Min was here. All this stuff. Like,
right, but he's not defending in this case here. I think that was just a really good pointed thing. Also, Yukiatsu got to do quite a bit before
Indeed.
They actually were able to stop him there, which shows in some ways that, people like Tsuruko, for instance, are like, no, I don't necessarily have that much of a problem with this.
Right, because
she knows what kind of Yukiatsu's going through here. Also, I wanted to bring up the whole thing here of where because I love Tsuruko so much, when he's like gasping for air and stuff. Look who Tsuruko runs up and says, "Are you okay too?"
Right, exactly.
Not the one who was getting choked out, but the one who started choking someone else out.
Yep.
Which
and then Inaro, she's looking at Yukiatsu and Inaro's looking at Jinta.
Yeah, it's just right there. It's I love it. Then we get Menma showing up. And that just sends Yukiatsu just over the edge there. And even Inaru is like, okay, I've had it with you too. Like, cut that out. No more.
And God, the music coming in and everything.
And this is such a good scene to have set up here. Then the diary falls over. Wow.
Like, as far as the mechanics too of how it's like set up, because there's this whole thing of like, wait, she's a ghost?
Right.
All right. And then the little things that they do to sort of be like, wait, should a ghost be able to do that from, way back when,
Yeah.
And then like making the bread and then turning on the lights, for Jinta when he's working. And then, the papers getting, blown by and all that stuff. And, Inaro being like, my shoulders are heavy. And then this. Yeah.
I wanted to bring up something that I've been saving until this end bit of the discussion here. And that is that, well, there's no writing article here for the diary.
Oh.
Now, there's no date, and I wanted to double check and make sure. There is no date as to when she wrote this. I believe on every other time that there was something written in the diary, it did have a date next to it.
Sure. And this one doesn't have anything on the... Or wait, no.
What are you talking about?
No, I was going to say it doesn't have anything on the left-hand page. I'm like, no, it's right to left.
Yeah. No, but I was going to bring up the idea that this is something that could have been a dream of hers, you know, that she would have this when she was younger as well, which is something that maybe someone will try to explain away by being like, this is something that she maybe dreamed of, you know, wanting to have happen.
But that please don't fight.
But the please don't fight bit
That's
just
pretty
kind
damning.
of kills it all right there.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
The Super Peacebusters are always friends. And if this is basically the final bit there where she needed to intervene on this level, and I love how they all basically make sure doubly, triply.
Right,
that
they're
it is
like,
actually
hold
Menma.
on. Yeah.
And of course, Yukiatsu being
like,
the one that would know, yes, this is Menma's handwriting.
Uh-huh.
And
Yep. Yep.
basically triply confirming it for them all. And then they're like, is this really Menma? And then the ED goes, and I'm like thinking, y'all, like, this is so good. But we have 3 episodes left. We have 3 episodes left. How are we going to have 3 episodes after this?
Well, okay.
There's so much that could happen.
There is so much that can happen.
Oh.
One of the things that I love about this, though, is so within this 11 episode show, right? This is 11 episodes.
I know.
And there's so much in here. But we also ripped things up a bit more with the whole thing of, well, yes, they were all Menma's friends. Yes, they have things that they need to resolve. What about Menma's family, though? You know, so it's that wonderful way to basically say, there's more to this.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then so that way, if the characters are still processing things and it's something that will take some time, you know, they can then do that in parallel with whatever happens over the course of the rest of the show. But yeah, it would seem they have pretty undeniable proof that Menma is actually here.
And not only is she actually here, Yukiatsu will finally be in a place with Tsuruko where they will probably be willing to share the wish that was actually given. Now, she still said, don't tell Jinta this. So they might try and finagle a way to tell everyone but Jinta. Although the problem is that I don't see the other two keeping that a secret from Jinta unless there's
Popo probably isn't a great secret
exactly.
keeper.
Unless there's extremely extenuating circumstances that would lead them to not saying anything.
Well, a ghost being here is a pretty good one.
But still, that doesn't matter really as far as like, you know, emotions are concerned. Someone could just be like, I don't care, I'm telling him this is a really big deal. You know, and then the whole thing is blown.
Oh, man.
So, what is it? That's why in some ways they could still have 3 episodes, is that it still doesn't say anything for 2 episodes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Still could be until like the end of the second to last episode. Like, that's literally my thought, is that like this is going to be something that leads towards a wish that is not just for the Super Peacebusters, but it is also for the family in some ways as well.
Sure.
And then it leads to them maybe even grabbing more out of the wish and what it is in something that, you know, is not just for Jinta, but it's something for everyone. Yeah. And then that's what the last episode is them basically coming to terms with it, having a good heart-to-heart, maybe recreating a little bit of that day in and of itself, with Menma being there and Jinta being able to maybe be basically the medium for what Menma says, and everyone being patient and letting it happen. But since they're all finally having this big moment here in episode 8, I have a lot of hopes for a really wonderfully happy ending, and happy in air quotes for in the sense that it resolves well for the characters, even though there's going to be a lot of sadness and pain associated with it. It would be still a really happy ending. But yeah, brilliant.
I love this show.
Brilliant.
I love this show so much.
Yeah, incredible episode. Really good setup for what I assume is now like the final act. Like, this was basically okay, now everyone's going to believe that Menma is here.
And in a lot of ways, I think this show might be able to be split into like a 3-act structure potentially, but it could also potentially be split into a 50-50. Like first part, second, like part 1, part 2, you know, with like the first part being establishing all the characters, and then because it was episode 6 where the whole thing of, well, do you remember, you know, Menma, you know, brought us there that day, you know, but
true. Yeah, y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there. And all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general. And you can also talk with Jacob about the sci-fi novel that he wrote.
Yep, I wrote a sci-fi novel, and I can't right now. It's on Amazon.
Go check it out.
Go check it out.
Yeah,
Link in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.